Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You would be forgiven for thinking that this is another Dirty Magazine Day, but it isn't actually. It is a mystery gift. And it looks like it's going to have to be modified straight out of the packet. So what's unusual about that? I got this in the mail. Pull tab to open. I'm such a gorilla, I just ripped open the side here. Okay, so I have to have it this way down. This is obviously from the US. I know who this is from. The address and the person who sent it to me is written on the front. This is from Uncle Jeff. Uncle Jeff is a long-time watcher, and he had these in his possession and decided to send them to me so that I could use them on the show. I did open it already mistakenly, so I know what's in here, but I'm going to just share them with you because I promised I would. Okay, so inside here is a whole bunch of these files with different articles of cars that he thought were interesting. So I'm going to go through these, maybe one or two at a time, in short little episodes, and it'll be, you know, what am I going to call it? Something Uncle Jeff. So, I mean, there's quite a few of them. I'm not going to show you too many of them right now because that'll give it away. But I guess we can we'll pick out two of them and we'll do them now. All right, the rest of them I'll do in another episode. Okay, so let me just get these top two here. How about Uncle Jeff's archives? How about that? The first one we've got is Power Pages. So this is 1,000, what do we got here? 2008 Scion TC. I'm not sure what the significance of any of these pages are. I think he just liked them. And we're talking about cars, so yeah, the Scion TC. It's a 2.4 litre VVTi, 161 horsepower, 162 pounds of torque. It's a 2AZFE engine, so that tells me it's a Toyota. So, Power Pages. So we've got that. Oh, wow, wait a minute. Maybe I'm on the wrong... I've gone from the wrong side. Ditch the daily grind. So I was looking at the wrong side. Wasn't interested in the Scion at all. He was actually interested in this. Rebuild your transmission for pennies on the dollar with better performance and greater longevity. I'll never forget test driving my first newly swapped Civic years ago. No matter how effectively the preceding week of mind-racking stress of installing that 94 B18 C1 GSR engine, that is a Honda Integra for those playing at home, and trans into my 95 Civic DX taxes the memory, I can recall the moments as if they happened yesterday. The foreign sound of the new starter cranking the dual cam engine to life, the increased NVH levels felt at idle, and the massive power and gearing improvements the new combination delivered over the previous D15 arrangement. Ooh, D15, that's pretty bad. I can also remember shifting into third gear for the first time, the moment my unadulterated bliss was traded for an emotion felt by anyone the moment they realized their which can only be described in one onomatopoeic offering Greek. Yep. What the hell was that? I asked my shotgun-riding seasoned vet of the wrench. That's the sound of a worn synchro, he responded. Okay, what can I do about it? Nothing. Replace the transmission and hope it doesn't happen again. Fortunately, times have changed. When the same problem surfaced in Project DC2, that's another Integra, the same Integra that the B18C came out of, but it probably had a B18C2, maybe different C, but it would still be a B18C and a DC2. A little while back, on the upshift from third to fourth, we decided it was time to find a permanent solution. We had two options. We could replace the trans with a nicer looking one from a junkyard and hope for the best, or we could spend a small fortune on a complete synchro and sleeve set from a Honda dealership. Synchros sleeves aren't sold individually. Rebuild our trans to OE specs and hope it lasts a decent amount of time before it starts grinding again. It wasn't until we caught up with Synchrotech in San Dimas, California, that we learned of a third option. Order only the components we need at manufacturer direct costs and rebuild the trans ourselves or have them do it for a nominal fee. We could even upgrade our OEM brass synchros to their proprietary carbon-coated or full carbon fiber synchros to increase performance and longevity and save coin in the process. Turns out our choice really wasn't one after all. Interesting. If this company still exists, could they make synchros for a cappuccino? Because the second gear synchro on that tends to flog out. Over we go. Smoking hot shirts from your favorite magazines. Right, okay. Over here like this. So that we could document the rebuild without getting our gear greasy, not that it already wasn't, we decided to let Synchrotech's tech handle the process while we followed. Transmission rebuilding can seem like a daunting task, but with a factory service manual FSM available at any Honda dealership or online at estore.honda.com, kept on hand, mechanically inclined gearheads of any experienced lover should have no problem. Step 1, remove the release fork and boot. Throw out bearing and everything else from the clutch housing. I'm inclined to agree. Like, if you have the instructions on how it goes, how it comes apart, how it goes back together, they are daunting, and you have to be careful because like a spring might fly out, but they're not that terrible. Okay, next, remove the speed sensor, reverse light sensor assembly, and stay both metal hangers and breather cap from the transmission housing. Okay, we're pulling a transmission apart step by step, looks like. Now you're ready to remove the 12mm bolts joining the transmission housing to the clutch housing. Okay, cool, fair enough. Before you can separate the two housings of the transmission, you need to remove the hex head sealing bolt and square head sealing screw at the end of the transmission housing to access the snap ring that locks onto the counter shaft. This thing. Right, okay, over we go. With a pair of snap ring pliers in one hand and a thin pry bar in the other, compress the snap ring while you gently, so as not to damage the housings, pry the two housings apart. You may need to work your way around the seal prying from several points until the two parts detach. Once they do, the compressed snap ring will let go of the counter shaft and the transmission housing will lift free from the clutch housing. I really hope I don't have to do this on the Alto, but I might. Although I do have 3, I repeat 3 four-wheel drive transmissions for that thing. So if one's bad, I'll just swap the transmission out. Remove the oil gutter plate, that thing, ball spring screw, and shift rod. Change holder assembly, change piece and interlock assembly, fifth reverse shift piece, and reverse idler gear and holder. Number 8, remove the counter shaft retaining nut. Why are we... Okay, it's alright. I'm not really sure why I'm reading this to you. And lift the main and counter shaft assemblies out together along with shift forks as shown. Lay them somewhere out of the way. For now, we'll get to them shortly. With the shaft assemblies removed, the differential and final drive gear can be lifted out of the clutch housing to allow access to the first, directly underneath it, of 3 oil seals you are going to replace while you have the trans apart. The remaining 2 are underneath bearings, which will need to be removed. Remove the countershaft needle bearing retainer plate, red arrow here, that thing. Then use a bearing removal slide hammer, available for rent at most auto parts stores, to remove it and the input shaft's ball bearing. There are also bearings atop the differential and around the main and counter shafts inside the gear assemblies. Inspect that each is free rolling and resistance free. If any appear to be worn or damaged, replace them. Number 12, removing the oil seals is a real pain in the ass without one of these removal tools. I disagree, just use a screwdriver. Do yourself a favor and rent one along with a bearing remover. Bearing remover, absolutely. One of those, yeah, why not? They're not expensive, get one. This magnet can be found along the bottom side of the clutch housing near the mating surface. All the metal collected here has been shed off the transmission's moving parts over time. Cleaning this magnet thoroughly will keep this gunk from recirculating through the transmission after reassembly and will clean the slate for more rough metal to collect on it in future, reducing premature wear. Over we go. Number 14. With everything stripped off, the clutch and transmission housings, hit each mating surface with a fine sanding disc or some sandpaper to clean off the remaining silicone sealant to prep the surface for reassembly. Then make sure to wash each housing completely to remove debris. Interesting, never done that before. I normally use a razor blade and then silicone remover. Okay, remember the main and counter shafts we set aside. Disassemble them completely and clean each part along with the differential and shift forks. Okay, whoa, what's this? Syncrotech will go so far as to tumble or wire wheel every part to deburr sharp edges, which decreases shedding along moving parts and bring housings to a factory fresh finish. If you're doing this at home, a good scrub down of everything should be fine. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Look at that. Okay, they deburr everything. Wow. Now comes the fun part, inspecting components for wear. Pictured above is a brand new OEM Synchro compared to the one below that came out of our trans. Oh wow, look at that, it's notched. This has got straight teeth, this is all notched. Note the worn Synchro's mishappen teeth. A definite sign it should be replaced. Yeah, those are rooted. Likewise here, we see a brand new Synchro sleeve compared to ours. When the nice, sharp, pointy teeth and straight columns of the brand new sleeves and hubs become dull, rounded teeth and battered columns like ours, you should probably replace. Yeah, they are quite, like, look at how this is all nice and sharp and they're nice straight columns. This is all rounded. Look at the dents in here, the wear marks. Rooted. This it? Yep, this is it. Pictured here is one of our selector rings that sits atop each Synchro. These two get battered over the course of their usefulness. They should be round and circular. If they appear scored, flattened, or misshaped, replace them. Replace them anyway. Just do it. It's just a ring. Do it. Finally, the gear itself, made of case-hardened steel. They're pretty tough despite the poor condition of the gear's Synchro and sleeve hub. It is a good enough shape to be reused. The pointed teeth towards the top are relatively sharp. The splines are fairly straight, and the smooth area that is the cone isn't scored or otherwise damaged. Inspect that all the gears are in acceptable condition, along with the main and counter shafts. Now for the improvements. Pictured here is the inside of that brand new OEM Synchro left, compared to a Syncrotech carbon coated alternative middle. Wow, they're very different, aren't they? Remember the smooth cone atop the OE gear? This part of the Synchro that contacts it, creating friction that slows and synchronizes the speeds of two gears when shifted. As the friction surface of the inside of the Synchro becomes worn to the point where the Synchro loses contact with the cone, grinding occurs. Brass isn't nearly as effective or durable as the carbon fiber matrix used in carbon-coated alternatives, which is why Honda now uses carbon-coated Synchros as OE equipment in the K series transmissions. I didn't know that. Check that all synchros sit atop their gears with a little space between their rows of teeth and the gears. If the two rows contact one another, replace the synchro and double check the gear. Yeah, you want a little gap in there, right? Okay, cool. 22. Upping the ante even more, Synchrotech has designed a replacement synchro with a full carbon matrix friction surface, not just carbon coated brass, pictured above, though the components were in late prototype stages at the time of this writing. Sets of the full carbon synchros have been distributed to various drivers of streetcars, road race and drag race machines for testing and feedback. We opted for one too, and our opinions are given at the end of the article. See the sidebar for what the other guys thought. 23. Reassembly is basically the reverse of disassembly, laying your parts out in an orderly fashion and referring to the FSM, the service manual, are invaluable at this stage, unless, that is, you're our installer. Synchrotech lead tech Steve Vasquez, with over 700 rebuilds under his belt, he could do this in his sleep, blindfolded, with one hand tied behind his back. Using all his faculties, a full rebuild takes him about an hour. Wow. Damn. I bet his hair took longer than that. 24. Genuine Honda manual transmission oil is what Synchrotech recommends using with either the OEM or carbon synchros, and it's important to lube bearings, gears, synchros, and sleeves with a bit of it upon reassembly. Once main and counter shaft assemblies are back together, check the action of gear selection. Pictured from top to bottom is a downshift from second to first. Second to first. Okay, so I see. So that slides down that onto... Wait, no, I don't see it. Oh, wait, that whole thing moves. Okay. Oh, yeah, okay, that there is attached to that, and that whole thing goes... Oh, yeah, cool, okay. To verify that nothing funky is going on, signifying improper installation. Okay. 26. A little transmission assembly lube or oil on the oil seals and bearings does wonders to get them in their place. We are 26. Yes, we are. 27. After replacing the differential final drive assembly, the needle plate set, magnet, etc., and assembling each shaft, join the gears with their forks on the table, lift them together and replace into the clutch housing just like you pulled them out. 28. Reinstall the rest of the clutch housing innards removed in step 7 and make sure to coat the gear selectors and forks with transmission assembly lube if you're not planning to install the transmission and drive it right away. If you are, a good coating of transmission oil will suffice. Honda Bond is so good it's been suggested to us by Toyota techs. Apply a liberal coating to the clutch housing's mating surface and reinstall the transmission housing. Remember to compress the snap ring when you do, and make sure the ring brake stoppers tab underneath the main shaft's largest bearing is in the correct position to slide into the spot in the transmission housing. Number 30. Reinstall the components you took off in the first few steps, affix your Synchrotech sticker, and you're done. Reinstall the transmission, fill with Honda manual transmission oil, and enjoy all the buttery smooth shifting and high RPM synchronization you can throw at it after a short break-in period, of course. The difference really is night and day. Make sure to change transmission oil after your first drive to remove any residual gunk, assembly lube, or initial shredding. What do the racers prefer? Brass, carbon coated, and full carbon synchros. What do the racers prefer? I rev out to almost 11 grand in each gear, begins Tim Thomas, New York City-based low-budget racing 9.6 second B-Series Civic drag champ. And it was killing the stock synchros. They were failing every 2 or 3 passes, he continues. I've gone over 20 passes on Syncrotech's carbon fiber ones so far, and shifting at high RPM is way faster. If I blow a trans, I'll yank out the synchros and pull them and put them in the new trans. Good as new. Brian Conno of Cypress CA's After Hours Automotive, whose road race EG recently won Honda's Challenge H2 class with the prototype full carbon synchros installed and with Renan Bayer behind the wheel, concurs. We log thousands of high RPM abuse shifts during each race weekend, he explains, and the carbon synchros outperform OE in every way. There you go. Replacement transmission, dealership new, $3,000. OEM aftermarket rebuilt, $2,200. Junkyard, $850. Syncrotech rebuilt brass synchros, $1,100. Syncrotech rebuilt with carbon coated synchros, $1,200. It's pretty easy to see what you would do, really. You'd get Syncrotech to do it for $1,200. Oh wait, no, if you're going to get them dealership master kit. Wait, is that? Oh, for DIY install. How much does it cost for them to do it? I don't know what's going on there. Maybe you do. I don't need to know. And there's our Scion TC. That was quite a long article, so I don't think I'm going to go on to the second one. I'll leave that for another time. But it looks like it's on gears. So if you'd like to see that, let me know in the comments whether you enjoyed what we just did or not. And if you did, then I'll keep doing it that way. If you have another idea of how I should go through Jeff's archives, Uncle Jeff, good old Uncle Jeff's archives, then let me know in the comments, and we'll take that into consideration. Save this one for next time. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know if you have any suggestions on what to do here. Yeah, see you in the next one. Later. I hope that recorded.